quickly just add a few things. So I want just quickly for the guys that are not on our WhatsApp group yet, just want to post our link to the WhatsApp group. Else you can send me a WhatsApp on my number of 083-790-8387, and then I'm just also posting the registration for the session, just the attendance register, so that you guys just can complete that as well, and then we can go on. Okay, so again, the session is recorded. We'll post it onto our will be on my UNISA on the Western Cape portal, but we will also share it on my WhatsApp group and in YouTube as well. So tonight's session, we're going to start with annuities. So nearly, yeah, we had a big break in between. So just to get our focus back on annuities. So we did simple and compound a few weeks ago. And for anybody that is new to the group, I'll in any case share those recordings again with you. Okay, so the focus is on annuities. So annuity, and we will go into some of the definitions of annuities and different types of annuities. So nearly the important thing to really understand with annuities and with some of the other work we're looking at, there's going to be annuities that you will need to put investments at the beginning of a month or the beginning of a period, and then there's annuities that is going to happen at the end of a period. So what you will also see is I'll show you what we're going to do on the calculator when it's the two different scenarios, because in the calculator you will need to do two different things. So and then I will also show you in Excel, because in Excel there's also, in the formula that is built into Excel, you can decide if it's an annuity at the beginning of a month or an annuity at the end of a month. Okay, or end of a period. Okay, so I will definitely show you that. I will also then share with you the Excel spreadsheet that you guys can then also use later on for your own calculations. Okay, so basically what is, and what I've explained now is the order annuity. So that is when it's at the end of a month or the end of a period, and annuity due or annuity due is when it is at the beginning of a period. Why I nearly every time say at the end of a month is because I work in the insurance industry. So a very simple example of an annuity is if you take out a retirement annuity and you nearly decide when your debit order goes off to pay that annuity. Okay, so if it is at the beginning of the month, you get more interest nearly, but there is other risk with it. If it goes at the end of a month, it's probably like in here. It's a bit less riskier. There's other things happening as well. So the two types is nearly ordinary annuity happens at the end of a period, annuity due that happens at the beginning of a period. Okay, so then we will also look at, and I always struggle to pronounce this, perpetuity. So that is basically, and again, you can look at it in the insurance world, where if you go into retirement, they would say normally that you will get a monthly income of an amount, and that will be paid to you up until you die. So that is nearly a perpetuity, that you work out the monthly payment or yearly payment, that is going to go on until something happens to you. Okay, so that's the big three types of annuities that we will cover in this. So again, just to show a picture of the ordinary annuity. So a payment happens at the end of a period. Your annuity due, the payment happens at the beginning of a period. Then I included the formulas. So again, I think what is important is that there's not a right or wrong way of, if you want to use your calculator with the built-in functions, or if you want to use the formula, or if you want to use Excel. All three can work. So what I will do is nearly show you, in most of the instances, all three of them, so that you can, in the end, decide which one is best for you. I work every day with Excel, so I'm much more comfortable in Excel than with my HP or with Casio or Sharp calculators. But it might be that you work the whole time with your calculator, so you're more comfortable in that. So again, don't unless you need to learn one of the two because you haven't used any of the two, but please, else use the one that you're most comfortable with. Then the other thing that we will need to look at is around the talk of annuity, where they might ask you to work out the future value of an annuity. That's the one that you will need to work out most. Is they tell you you've been paying an amount for a certain time frame with a certain interest. What is the future payment or future value of that? They could also ask you to say you have been paying this annuity for a certain period at a certain interest rate. What is your present value of that? For one that you get more questions normally on is your future value, but that then gives them an opportunity to throw in the present value sometimes in an exam question. So again, just want to nearly tell you guys how it will be late in the exam as well, because we in the end prepping that you guys pass the subject. So that is where a lot of the focus in the sessions will also be, is to say how it will look in the exam. So assignments again is very focused on one or two chapters. So there's there's a lot of questions around that one or two chapters. In the exam, they need to ask one or two questions on each chapter. So they can't then suddenly only ask you. So then it becomes difficult for them to ask you, because they will ask you an ordinary annuity question. I will ask you annuity due question. So that is nearly two questions that you will already get. Then they can't really ask you another two set of questions just from a one chapter, because then it's already four questions. So you might get a lot of a future value in the assignments, but just please also look out for the one with a present value, that when it comes, you also know how to do that. There is, in the set of examples that we will go through, I think I have put one in. If I haven't, I will put it into our exam prep in any case, just that we cover that as well. Okay, and then the other thing that we have is a deferred annuity. Again, there's a deferred annuity that's an ordinary annuity, and a deferred annuity that is annuity due. So again, two possible ways of looking at it. Normally, we will again work out the present value for something like that. So another one that nearly, so you can see in this study unit, they can't really ask you all of these things, because that is already five questions just to ask one of each. So again, they will pick nearly what they want to ask out of it. Then the other one is the perpetuity. So the perpetuity, basically, they can give you they need to give you two things that you will need to work out the third. So they might give you the interest rate, they might give you the payment per period, so that you need to work out the present value, or they can give you the present value and a payment, so that you work out the interest rate. So with a perpetuity, normally they want you to work out the payment per period or the interest rate. So we will look at something in that sense as well. So now, again, we're sitting here in this chapter already now with a sixth question that they can ask as well. So when you do the assignments, please nearly check in the assignment what they don't ask. And please also, what I've noticed is, because you have two or three attempts, that they do rotate the questions. So it might, so please do, if you already get a good score in your first first attempt, try it again. They take in any case the best score of your attempts. Just nearly to see what else they're asking. Not always to beat the first score. It is more for me that you guys see what is the other questions that they ask. Because there is, again, just a number of questions, sorry, that they can ask you. So what we've seen is that there's sometimes of your assignment questions that are being used in the exam as well. The last 3 years, let's see, from when was it? 2020, 2021. All of the exams moved online. So we don't have old exam papers that is post-COVID, because one can't get access to it. So they love to use those types of questions that you get in the assignments and reuse it. So the more assignments you do, the more likely you are to cover things that you might get in the exam. Okay, so let's quickly go into the first question. You will see what I just added here again is another one that was also handled in your study guide. So this is when there is a change to your annuity. So it might be that, and again, I take a retirement annuity as an example. So you get a retirement annuity that does not grow with inflation. So if you put in 500 Rand this month, in 2 years' time, you will still put 500 Rand in. So that's your normal annuities. But with a growing annuity, what they normally will say is after year one, your annuity is being increased by 10%. So then your monthly or that period that you're paying, that amount will then increase with 10%. Then the next year, it will increase again. So this formula takes into account that increase in the nearly amount that will be covered in the growing of the annuity. Okay, so now you've seen out of this chapter, we can actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of questions, which is a lot. So again, when you do your assignment, I think it was probably annuities was most likely an assignment on its own. But yeah, you can see that they have a lot of things that they can ask you in this chapter, that you need to know. So let's look at a few examples. I think that is the most important. This is one of those subjects that the more you practice, the more you get to understand the question. So I'm going to write down a few things, then going to show nearly what the buttons is on your financial calculator that we will use, and then also we'll look at showing you how to use Excel in something like this. So let's just look at what they give us. So suppose that at the end of a month, okay, so that already tells us one thing about this. It's at the end of the month, so it's your ordinary annuity. Of his 35th birthday, Ken decides to deposit 400 Rand into his savings account at the end of each month. The savings account pays interest, so we can see what the interest per year is. It is 18%. Okay, so we also know how much the payments per month is. That is 400. A savings account pays interest at 18% per annum compounded monthly. So we also know now that it is monthly, so it is 12 periods per year. What is the amount of money that Ken will have in his account on his 50th birthday? Okay, so 50 minus 35. So the number of years is 15. So that number of periods is 15 times 12, 180. Okay, so that is really a lot. Okay, so he basically made 400, or he made 180 monthly payments of 400 Rand, and he is getting an increase of 18% on a yearly basis, calculated monthly. Okay, so for this one, if we just used the calculator, we would have said your interest rate is 18%. We would have said that you've got a minus 400 PMT. We want to get to the future value because they want us to tell what is the value on his 50th birthday. I will add a 0 present value because I don't want my calculator to remember previous questions that I was working on. It is 12 times per year for 15 years, so it's supposed to be 180 periods. And then the future value that I am getting will be 362,249.81. Okay, so what I've done for you guys is I've shown the formula nearly if you wanted to use the formula for it. So when I share it after the session, you can go through the formula as well if you like to work with formulas. It is in here if you like to work with your financial calculator. These are the steps that you need to do. And if you, like me, that likes to use Excel, I will quickly gonna show you in Excel how to do it as well. So I will share the Excel with you after the session as well. So I'm gonna set up the Excel that when I share it, that you can play with it when you also getting questions, so that you just need to nearly change the input, and you can nearly test this when if you're happy with it, you can use it in your other assignments as well. So we want to get the answer of a future value. So that is the formula that we're going to put in there. So they give us the interest per year, which is 18%. They give us our PMT, which is minus 400. They told us it will happen 12 times a year. They told us it's for 15 years. Okay, let's just add a bit more information in here. I just normally add. So if I tell you in a question that you might have put down 200 Rand at the beginning as a present value and then paying 500 per month, then you can actually put in a value for the present value. Okay, so, but we want to get to the future value for this one. So in Excel, there is a built-in formula that is just future value. So exactly the same as in nearly when you look at your calculator. So here they ask you, what was the rate? What was the number of periods? What is the PMT? What is the present value, if there is any? And with a type, that is where you're going to decide, is it a payment at the end of the month or payment at the beginning of the month? Okay, so this is where it's going to change in Excel. There's a different place on your calculator, but we'll get there when we need to do something that is payment at the beginning. So interest rate, number of periods. So I need to include another one there. So we will do that. PMT, present value. So let's just close that for now. It will give me an error. So what we need to tell Excel is that how many periods are there. So it is the 12 times the 15. And then it says if a value represents the timing of payment, payment at the beginning of a period is a 1, payment at the end of a period is a 0, or if you don't say anything. Okay, so now you will see this massive number. Okay, which obviously is wrong. Okay, so let's look at what is different between Excel and your calculator so that you know it going into the future, because I think that is important, because we read up about the formula, but when we see this formula, rate is the interest rate per period. For example, use 6% divided by 4 for quarterly. Okay, so we know this is the monthly, so we need to divide it by the 12. Okay, and then suddenly you see by that one difference, it is now correct. Okay, so your financial calculator, because we said it is 12 times a year, it already has built into it that it will adapt the interest rate for that 12 times per year. Excel is not that clever. So you need to tell Excel that when you put it in, you can do two things. Or you can use this formula where I've now created it, that it reads it as divided by 12. Or you can do is say, well, my interest rate is 18%, and I know it's happening 12 times. So then when I do that formula, it is nearly already built into it. Okay, so the thing I just want to show you, very important in Excel, that this calculation sees that you are working on a monthly basis, else it will make a mistake by not dividing that interest rate by 12. Okay, so that's the big difference between Excel and your financial calculator. So that's why I nearly say I work a lot in Excel, so I know this. If you rather want to use your financial calculator because you're more comfortable in using that, please rather use it. But I am going to share with you the Excel formulas in any case, so that if you want to test something, you can do it. And now this has been set up. So if you now need to say, well, okay, it is actually 14%, and the payments per year was quarterly, then the formula will automatically change it for you to get to the right answer. Okay, then if there was a present value of 5,000 that was made, you can see then automatically again the future value will change for you. So what I would do if I were you guys is just, and you, if you don't want to use the Excel, just have it on the side as maybe just another way to check your answers. And you can play around with it nearly in some of the examples in the book, and things like, or in, sorry, in the study guide. I will share with on the WhatsApp group, I will share with you also previous exam papers when it was still in paper format, because I've got a lot of that. So I will definitely share that with you. And if by fluke I get of the last 2 or 3 years, I'll definitely share that with you. Okay, so this was one where we needed to work out the future value. We got the payments that we needed to make. So the other thing that I wanted to show you guys is, if this was at the end of, or sorry, at the beginning of a period. In Excel, it is as easy as in this formula to change that type from a 0 to a 1. You will see it's not really that big a difference. So all that it did is it moved it up a bit, that you got an extra 30 days nearly of an income. But again, it was 367. If you did it at the beginning, if you did it at the end, it was 362. So just showing that when you get to a question where they might have a question on the begin and the question on at the end of the period, the longer you are in the interest rate phase. So if you do it at the beginning, you will get a slightly higher return on your income. So they might ask you a question which we'll get to later, around the flows and net present value, and you need to decide between two investments, that you need to pick which investment is better. I think that is in chapter 5, 6, or somewhere there. But they could have asked you on annuity, an ordinary annuity with information, and annuity due with information that might be slightly different. Which one is the best option for you to invest in? So they might ask you something like that, where they actually test both of those formulas with you. Okay, so they might do something like that. If this was a question where it's set at the beginning of a month. The only thing that you will change on your calculator is there will be a begin or end button on your calculator. So on the HP, it is nearly below the future value, but there is on the sharp, there's also the begin and the end. So you will just have set the begin and end. You will press that button so that it moves it to the beginning. You will complete exactly the same, and then your answer would be 367. The important thing with that begin end function is that please remember after you've done a question like that to again press the begin and end button so that you don't, your next question is also not being calculated on that basis of it's a beginning number, because you will probably only get one in the exam. So please, after you've done a question with begin, remember to change it back. Unfortunately, and I've seen it in papers, so is that the next question, they will, one of the answers will be one that is linked to if you did not change it. Okay, so that is how they normally would. Your next answer or next question would be a question that if you still use begin, there will be an answer for you. Okay, so I've seen it a few times already in papers. The same that they like to do is if they, most of the questions will be based on a monthly, compounded monthly, but there's one or two questions that will be a different period where it might be quarterly or half yearly. Again, please, because our calculators, if you've pressed now this 12 times per year in the calculator, it remembers it for the next question. So unless you change it to 4 times, it will still work out with 12. So the same with that one question that might be quarterly. If you keep on then using quarterly for your other questions, there will be answers for you in your answer set that makes you think that you are actually doing it correctly. So just be very careful with the calculator is when you do the next question, nearly make sure that things have been reset, that you don't work with old information. That's why I always nearly, you will see me when I now do some of the other questions as well. There's always, if if present value wasn't used, I will make it 0. If it was PMT that wasn't used, that payments per period, I would have made that 0, just to make sure that I don't make a mistake when I use the calculator. Okay, so let's get into the next question. Okay, so here they talk about Colin's family are planning a trip to Europe and want to have 45,500 in their account in 3 years' time. Okay, so in 3 years' time, they want to have 45,500. Okay, so they tell us that we have a future value. Okay, the account will pay 14% interest per annum, and now we see compounded half yearly. Okay, so half yearly, there is about 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So let's write down some of the information we already have. So interest rate is 14%. We know it is 2 times per year because half yearly means every 6 months. We've got for 3 years, so there will be 6 periods that we will get, need to make a deposit, and we will get interest on it. What amount must they deposit into the account at the end of every 6 months? Okay, so we need to work out what is the PMT this time. And we've got no present value to start off with, so your present value will be 0. Okay, so if we do it on the calculator, I will start off with 0 present value. Then I would have said, okay, remember previous question we had 12 times per year, now we have 2 times per year. It is for 3 years, so in total it's 6 periods. It's 14%. I've got the future value is there. The future value is 45,500 negative future value. And then my PMT that I will get is 6360.71. Okay, again, if you use the formula, here is the formula. So you could have done everything with the formula, you will get exactly the same answer. So if we used it, let me just make sure. So we've got the future value, we have the interest, but remember that interest is half yearly. And then remember that N is the 2 times 3 because it is giving us the period. So the 0.14 divided by 2 will be giving us the 0.07, and the 2 times 3 will give us that 6 periods that we will be working with. So if you put that same information into the formula, you will get exactly the same. So that was your 2 times per year. So let me just, that was your 3N. So that would have given you the 6 periods that we had. So that you can just also see how the other calculator and the formula nearly links to one another. Okay, so again, quickly going to show you with this information how to do it in Excel. So I'm just going to make a copy of this, but we're going to change a few things because now we want to work out the PMT. So all that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that PMT down. So again, will be able to use this when I send it to you, no problems to using this. So now the interest rate was 14%. The period or per year was 2. The number of years was 3. So why did that now not? Okay, so let me just, I need to change the other one as well. Let me quickly just change this formula. that it is multiplied by. Okay. Then present value was nothing. We have a future value of 4500. Sorry for that. Sure. So there is our value of, and then we're going to work out the PMT. So there's a formula for PMT as well. And it looks very similar nearly to the one of a future value. It will look very similar to the one of a present value. So again, it is the things that we need to put in, like the future value. So it was your rate, it was your period, it was your present value. If there was, it was your future value. Is it something that is beginning of the period or at the end? So this one, end of a period. So you will see that we get exactly the same answer when we use Excel for this as well. Okay, so again, I just wanted to show you nearly both so that you guys can decide what you want to use. I will share the spreadsheet with you as well. Okay, so there are, and I sound now repetitive, but again, if you like the calculator, use it. If you like to use the formula, use it. What I will do for you as well is nearly at the end of this month, I will give you, in any case, also a formula page that has all your formulas that you will need. So that if you want to print it out or have it with you, you are allowed to have the formulas and those kind of things. So I will create a formula page for you guys in any case with all the formulas that is needed. So if you like to use the formula, you can do it. I mean, if you like Excel, I will share that spreadsheet. Okay, so that was one where, so we had the first one where we needed to work out what's the future value when you do a monthly payment. This one, you got a future value and we needed to work out what is that monthly payment. So the next one is a bit different. So Mr. White opened an annuity fund and deposited 3,000 into it. Okay, so let's do that. So he opened it and deposited 3,000 in. Thereafter, he deposited 500 at each of month into this fund. Okay, so then it was at each of the end of a month, there was 500 going into it. Okay, so that is what he did. Then they say, so one is Mr. White. So then they say there's a Mr. Jones. So what Mr. Jones did, on the other hand, opened his annuity fund by depositing 5,000 into it. Okay, so he deposited 5,000. He thereafter deposited 3,000 at the end of each month. So both of them was at the end of each month. So there it is 300 into those at the end of each month. After 15 years of making deposits into the annuity fund, the two friends decide to compare their investments. Calculate the amount in the two funds after the 15 years if a 12.5% interest rate compounded monthly is applicable. Okay, so 12.5% for both and 15 years for both. Okay, so basically we need to work out the future value for both of them, and we need to decide which one was the best option. Then we've got a present value that he deposited in. We've got a PMT. Okay, so again, I'm firstly gonna use Excel now because now I can just copy and paste. So I'm gonna do a copy of this one. Just move. I just create a copy. And I'm just gonna say compare to future values. Okay, so what we can now do is I'm just gonna insert here. So the one was Mr. White, so you can call that anything when if you need to do it. Okay, so let's look at the interest for both of them was 12.5. The payments for them were different. So for Mr. White, he did a 500 Rand payment. For Mr. Jones, he did a 300 Rand payment. Both of them were 12 times per year, both of them for 15 years. So both will have 180 periods. Mr. White did a 3,000 Rand present value, and Mr. Jones had a 5,000 Rand present value. Okay, so Mr. White basically, because of that 500, that is 200 times bigger over the longer period, you can see that for Mr. White, he is definitely getting the better return on his, well, he at the end has the biggest annuity payment that he's getting because he has put more money in. So let's just check if all of those is right. If all of those is right. So you could have now done the same process with your calculator. So you will see there's exactly the same, Mr. White, the calculator and formula. So the 281, there's the 281. And Mr. Jones's was 189. And there you can see 189. And here was the final question, was it to see which one was the most? Okay, so they said calculate the amount of it too. But in this, obviously, also they said how much more did Mr. White get out of his. But then again, what we can just do is one can just do that as a subtraction from one another. Okay, so that we could have done exactly the same if you look at the formula. So here you would have seen the formula is the present value. So what they're doing is they're looking at that initial payment and working out what that will be over the 15 years. And then they work out what your annuity will be over 15 years, and they're adding those two together. Okay, so again, what we could have done on the calculator is, and let's do it. So, and let's just do it for the first one. So on your calculator, you could have done exactly the same. So you don't need to work it out, I think, as two different. So let's quickly see. You've got a present value of minus 3,000. You've got a PMT of minus 500. You've got a period or 12 times per year for 15 years. So it's going to give you the 180. And I think the only thing left that we need to add is the interest rate of 12.5. Okay, so it's supposed to give you the same answer if we just put all of that information in. So let me quickly check. Minus 3,000 present value, minus 500 PMT, 12 times per year for 15 years is 180 periods at 12.5% interest, and your future value will be 281,352. 281,352. So if you put that into your calculator, you will also get the 281,352. Okay, so the big difference in this instance was the calculator, you can do it as one. You get the answer. Excel, you could have done it as one question or one step, you get the answer. But if you use the formulas, you will need to do it in two steps. So you will need to first work out that initial payment and get a value, and then you will need to work out that annuity and get a value, and then add the two together. Okay, so bit more work if you're doing it with the formulas, because now there's two steps involved, where if it was with the financial calculator or with Excel, then it nearly covers it in one step. Okay, you can also have done it on the calculator in two steps, but then, so you could have said, my present value is 3,000 Rand. I've got 0 PMT over 12 months, over 15 years, at that interest rate. So then you would have also gotten this 19,000. So you could have done with the calculator also a first step and a second step if you wanted to, but you can combine it as one within a calculator and within Excel. Okay, so that's just the difference between using the formula in this instance and using the calculator. Okay. Or are you guys, is it okay thus far? Um, is the session, is it helping? Is it making a bit more things more clearer that you might probably already have had in an assignment? But is it is it assisting or is it making the things a bit clearer? I just want to get nearly a check-in with you guys. So is it helping? Or is it still okay? Cool. Okay, thanks. Okay, so let's have the module is difficult, so that is I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It is difficult. So and 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 let's be honest, unfortunately, there's not really an easy chapter in this. So yes, simple interest is easier than the rest, but yeah, okay. But yeah, so but on the DSC frame of first year subjects, this is probably one of the most difficult ones. So in the decision sciences, between QMI, BNU, 1520 and 1630, this is the most difficult one. Because the chapters is there is no place to hide. And what they love to do is so you will get that one question of simple interest, but it might be that that simple interest is linked to a calculation when you need to count days, or it might be the quarterly instead of the things that we normally would see is the monthly. So it is nearly even within some of the questions they love to mix it up. So that for me is nearly the important things that so every time I will nearly show you guys also what I've experienced with some of in the last few years with the types of questions that they ask in the exam as well. Um, just for the practice. Okay, so let's look at this one. And obviously in your exams and the assignments, it's multiple choice. So at least there is an answer that can direct you in some sort of direction. Here we go blind into it. We don't really have a feel of what the answer is. In your assignments and in the exam, obviously it's multiple choice. There is sometimes things that you can eliminate from the start nearly. So when you look at at one of these questions where you need to work out future value, it might be that one of the answers is the present value. So that if you make a mistake, instead of working out the future value, you press present value on your calculator, they will have that as one of the options. So that is nearly the tricky thing in this subject is all those, and you guys would have seen it probably in your assignments already. All those four answers that you need to pick out of, by some form of method, you would have been able to get that answer. So you might think, oh, great, I got it because it is, and I don't want to scare you guys because this is not, but it is they nearly know what is the type of errors the students will make. So they know Okay, here we're going to look at beginning. So the next question that they will ask will not be one with beginning in, so that if you haven't changed your calculator from begin back to where it originally was, you will make a mistake. So that is nearly, it's small things, but it can make a huge impact on your answer. So that is why some of the times I will repeat things, because I've seen it, I've made some of those same mistakes. So luckily when I make the mistake, it's fine. I'm done with his work. So, but for you guys, I will assist you nearly with the things that I know I've made mistakes, and what the students also make a lot of mistakes with. Okay, so let's look at this one. So insurance agent offers services to clients who are concerned about their personal financial planning for retirement. To explain the advantages of an early start to investing, she points out that if the 25-year-old John started to save 2,000 at the beginning of each year of a 10 years and makes no further contribution, John will earn more than Jane would. Jane, who waits 10 years and then save 2,000 at the beginning of each year until retirement age of 65. Okay, so let's look at just those two. So so 25-year-old John starts to save 2,000 at the beginning of each year for 10 years. So then at that age, he is, okay, this is actually a scary calculation. So for you guys that are still young, so that's 10 years. And if he then does nothing to that money, just let it grow for up until he is 65. That is another 30 years. John will earn more than Jane, who waits 10 years, so nothing happened in that 10 year. Then she starts saving the 2,000 at the beginning of each year for that 30 years. Okay, so she's also then 65, so she's made contributions for 30 years. He just made contributions for 10 years. Okay, so let's work out those two. Okay, so we need to go to the begin function. So on your calculators, there is a begin. So begin minus 2,000 will be your PMT, because you're putting away 2,000 at the beginning of each year. Now it is not 12 times per year, it's only one time per year. So for 10 years, and then we nearly want to get, oh, thank you. So there's the interest rate at 7% interest rate. So we want to get after that 10 years a future value at this stage. And if I work that out, it is 35,468.65. Okay, so that is what it is after that first 10 years. And then they said, okay, after those 10 years, he does not make any further contributions. but obviously you will get interest. So we will take that as a present value. So we will need to take that as a present value of 35,000. Still one time per year, but now it is 50 years. And still at 7% interest. We're not making any more payments, so it's 0 payments per month. And then if I work out correctly, I get that it is 269,996.43. I just want to also check if I've done it correct. Okay, no, I haven't. So why didn't I do it correctly? Okay, so that is right. That is right. Payment is 2,000. Okay, so let me just quickly redo that with my calculator. Obviously, I made a mistake. Where's my begin? So it is 2,000 PMT for 10 years, 7% interest. Okay, so I didn't press PMT, so I got something different. So now that I press PMT, I got a different value of 29,567. Okay, so I made a mistake in my calculation. So let's just quickly take that out. So I forgot to do the PMT, even though I'm sure, the begin, even though I'm sure I did. So that was 29,567.20. Let me just check. 7.20. Okay. So then if we then use that 29,567.20 as your present value, no more payments, 7% interest, 50 years, the future value that I will then get is 225,073.06. Make it 07, so that is close enough. Okay, see, so automatically now I've made a mistake, and then everything is gonna be wrong. So very important with that calculator, that you check out that you do use the right buttons. Okay, so that was for 2,000 Rand per year for 10 years. Then he let that investment lie in the bank, getting interest. You will get 225,073.06. Okay, so then the Jane, what she does is she takes the 2,000, also at the beginning of the period. So again, we still stay with begin. So 2,000 PMT. Remember, we're still with the begin function. So minus 2,000 PMT for 30 years. Also still 7% interest. And then if we press future value, I will just check. I get 202,146. Okay, so let's quickly just check. 202,146. Okay, scary to see that he only did it for 10 years. Then he let it rest for the rest of it, 50 years, where she started 10 years late, needed to actually do it for 50 years on, and then she has less than what he has put away. Okay, so that thing where they say start early with your retirement, even if it is little, that is a great example nearly of that. It is a bit scary if you think about it this way. Um, yeah, probably too late for me now, but but again, so you could see very important the begin when I made that one mistake, suddenly everything. So that was wrong, then that is wrong. I would still have that, yes, the one is making more, but I would have made a mistake. Okay. So if you like to use the formula, here it just shows you again the difference. And the one thing that you now would nearly pick up here is that, so we've looked at what John was earning or what John did. We looked at what Jane did. They ask us to say, but come on, find the net earnings, and they probably say compound amount minus total contributions. Okay, so you could see that what they then worked out is, so John earned the 225, he made 10 payments of 2,000, so his net earnings would have been 205. Okay, where Jane that saved in the end 202,000, but because she made 50 payments of 2,000, that is actually 60,000 Rand compared to he only invested nearly made 20,000 of payments. She also then have a less net earnings than what John had. So the net earnings is something that, again, I don't think you would have seen it in your assignments, and then they do sometimes add it to the exam. They tell you exactly actually how you need to work it out, because they say find the net earnings, so compound the amount minus total contributions. But again, when you do it, it is nearly, you just want to get to those final answers, because that is nearly how we programmed in our brain. I need to work out what that final answer is after the total investment. And then they throw something weird in like net earnings. But so what they would have done in the exam is they would have given you an option of this one and this one. Then they would have had the combination of this earning and this earning as well, so that you nearly get to the first answer set, you think, I'm done. You forgot that you need to do net earnings as well. Okay, then The last one, if it's not a perpetuity, I'll need to add the perpetuity quickly into this. So I just quickly want to get somewhere. I'll quickly check now for one after we've done this. So let's quickly read this question. A poor student has to repay his study loan of 80,000, which he received when he enrolled for the first time in equal monthly payments. The repayment will start after he had finished his education in 4 years' time. Determine his monthly payments if he wants to repay his debt in 5 years after studying for 4 years, and if interest is calculated at 15% per year compounded monthly. Okay, this is quite an interesting question. So I would have said your student has to repay a study loan of 80,000, which he received when he enrolled for the first time. In equal monthly payments, he studied for 4 years. Determine the monthly payments if he wants to repay the debt in 5 years' time. So again, this is one of those that, so, which then will become a present value, and you will need to, but I just need to read it again, but I'm just making 100% sure. The student has to repay a study loan of 80,000, which he received when he enrolled for the first time in equal monthly payments. The repayment will start after he has finished his education in 4 years' time. Determine his monthly repayments if he wants to repay his debt in 5 years after studying for 4 years. Okay, so I would have nearly said that 80,000 is a at the a present value that you now need to work out after 4 years how much actually you need to repay. So let's do that. 80,000 present value. The interest, it seems like we're using the 15% in both instances. It is monthly payment, so 12 times per year. It is for 4 years, so it is 48. We need to get future value. Okay, so 80,000 minus is my present value. At the moment, there's no monthly payment, so 0 PMT, 15% interest, 12 times per year. Remember, in our calculator, the previous question was 1 time per year, so we need to change that. It's 4 years, so it is 48 periods. And then our future value will be 145228. Just quickly check. 145228. Okay, if you haven't changed your calculator from the begin back to your normal setting, you would have gotten a different answer. Okay, so if you didn't do that, you would get, let's quickly check. You will get something way different. So please select. I just quickly want to redo this. This first one didn't look right. So if you did not change your calculator, it's actually the same. Can that be? That is weird. Um, okay. Yeah. So at this point, if you didn't change it back to the begin or from begin to something else, obviously it wouldn't make a difference, because we don't have any monthly payments at the moment. Okay, so even if you do begin or not begin with this with the present value, it's not going to make any difference. The difference is coming in when you need now to split it out on a monthly basis. Okay, so your future value that you need to repay as a student is 145,228 Rand after 4 years. So now it's going to be, well, that is going to be my present value. So that is going to be my present value. I'm going to make monthly payments. So at the end, I must have zero future value. Okay. I'm paying off the loan. So at the end of the loan, there should be nothing left. I need to find out what the PMT is. The difference in my time period, it's still 12 times per year. But now I paid off over 5 years. So it will be 60 periods and not 48. And your interest rate stays the same at 15%. Okay. So let's quickly use the calculator. We've got the 145,228, and we use that as your present value. Your future value will be zero because the loan is paid off. 12 times per year should still be in your calculator. 5 years, so the periods will be 60. 15% should still be in the memory of a calculator as well, but you can redo that. And then your PMT, your monthly payments will be 3454.97. 3454.97. Okay, so if you at this stage didn't change it to from the begin back to the normal, yeah, obviously it would have changed, and then that probably would have been something like 3412 or something like that. Okay, so just make sure when you do the annuity questions when to use the begin and when not to use the begin. Okay, so that is nearly the most important. Again, the way to calculate, I have added it here as well, so that you can have a look at that. Okay, is the questions. I will next week. I will just add perpetuity to that. We can just look at one of those. I thought I had it in, but I'm not finding something now. So I will just go to my archives and get a question of that as well. So when we start off next week, we'll quickly just look at a question around that, and then we will carry on with the next study unit, which will be then looking at chapter 5, amortization and sinking funds. Okay, so then cash flow, then bonds, then some of our other work. I don't think you guys, yeah, it's not, you weren't supposed to have any comms yet on exam dates or anything like that. So when that comes through, please let me know. But again, if you not on the WhatsApp group and you want to join, please click on the link. You can join or send me a WhatsApp on 083. Then also just for Western Cape, UNISA, just the link underneath the WhatsApp group is for class attendance. And then the last one, I just want to check, there's supposed to be one that does an evaluation. If I'm not getting it, we can do that next time, then it's not the issue. But if you guys can still, there's too many links, so don't worry about the evaluation one. I will post that in one of the next sessions. Oh wait, I've got it. So let me just paste this in as well. Then there is an evaluation form about the session as well. Okay, so what I will do is I will share the recording. I'll stop the recording.